Before we get into the episode, I want to talk to you real quick about a nonprofit organization called CC's Angels. CC's Angels is a 501c3 nonprofit that gives survivors a chance to give back to others in need. Have you survived domestic abuse, assault, or illness? Do you want to reach out? CC's Angels raises money for all sorts of causes. They even provide organic sugar scrubs that are survivor made. You can also purchase t-shirts and other merchandise. Check out www.ccsangelsinc.org or follow on Instagram and Facebook. Charlie Vann here with Ruby Jane. Ruby, how are you?
I'm doing great. Just had a nice kind of chill day running errands and getting things done and excited to be talking to you. So thanks for having me.
Oh, definitely. Well, I'm excited to be talking to you as well. I know you're going to make your way to Dallas in here about a week and performing at the Rustic. Just kind of talk about right now as being a musician during this time. I know these are crazy times, but I've seen you've been pretty busy performing there in Austin. So what's life been like for you right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's obviously been a super weird year for everybody. And I think everyone's just trying to make the best of it, that they can. And same for me. I mean, I've been performing, a little bit, maybe 3 or 4 shows in the entire year, which is insane because usually, it's 10 times, 20 times that. So that's been different, but I've been really just using the time to write and record a lot and try to just get as much done on the back end as I can so that, when things do open up again and when things are a little bit more normal, I'm like ready to go. So I've been working on my new EP this year, and I released the first track of that this summer, but the rest of them are about to start coming like every other month starting in 2021. Which is super exciting. So yeah, I've just been like, making the best of it and working as hard as I can and just kind of getting geared up. And I'm hoping next year to travel a little bit more, spend a little bit more time like in LA and Nashville that I didn't get to do this year. So, but making the best of it,
Well, congrats on the single Sick, because I know it's got a lot of streams on Spotify. How long between the show Listen to Your Heart and when you released it did you actually work on that single?
It was actually, let's see, well, when I went to film Listen to Your Heart, which feels like forever ago.
When was that? Was that January or was that?
It was filmed late January, like through mid-February time. And actually like when, because when we were in there filming, you don't get like your phones, you don't really get access to the outside world. So it was when we got out that my friends were like, have you heard about this COVID thing? This Corona thing, so that was like actually after that I first heard about all this stuff. But so I started, I'd been working with this producer that lives here in Austin on, a bunch of different originals, and we've been just writing a whole lot. We hadn't really decided on like a game plan. And I actually thought pre-COVID stuff, I was planning to be moving to LA by May 1st.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to be living there, this whole year pretty much. So I had kind of a different game plan set. And then when quarantine happened, it was like, okay, well, let's hunker down and really like make something happen here in Austin, since that's where I'm going to be for the foreseeable future. So I started working a lot more with this producer here, and we actually wrote Sick, like I want to say a couple months after Listen to Your Heart. And then when we wrote that, it was like, okay, all right, this is like the sound, this is the direction that we've been kind of looking for, that we want to go in. So let's get this done, let's get this released, and like have this be the beginning of like the EP, which this EP will be the first one that'll be kind of under my own solo pop artist.
So none of the Reckless.
Right. Yeah. So the Ruby and the Reckless was more of kind of a rock project that I had a couple years ago. And I've released things in the past under that name. And then I've released things under Ruby Jane, which Jane is my middle name. I've released more kind of country stuff, and I've gone all across the board with genres and experimented with a lot of different
Hey,
things.
that's good. That's what's the beauty of music. There's so much you can
Yeah,
do.
exactly. And I love all different kinds of music. So I've had a lot of fun with that. But this is really what I've wanted to do for a long time. Pop music is my passion. And I've always wanted to, put my own spin on kind of mainstream pop sounds. So that's like really what we've been focusing in on. And that's what's coming out now under just the name Ruby, which it will be just the solo pop thing.
So you got the Madonna, Cher, just Ruby.
Exactly. I was like, there's not a big Ruby anywhere. Like,
Yeah.
why not?
Hey, be the first.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, all my friends call me Ruby. And so it's like, you know what, that has a little bit more of like a pop ring to it than, Ruby Jane, which I love, that's my name, but it has a little bit more of like a country feel, more of like my old stuff. So it was just a natural transition that happened.
Well, last names are overrated.
Exactly. Well, Smith is my last name. I never use that. It's always Ruby Jane or Ruby. So yeah, I never use my last name.
Well, your background too is really interesting because kind of your roots and, being a violinist and you were under the tutelage. I read about Ray Benson. And so talk about just, going through the kind of bluegrass Americana and how that's kind of grown appreciation for what you're doing now, and anything you learned from them that you're taking into your artwork now.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been really blessed to work with a lot of incredible people that have shaped my music and just my life and my passion. I've been playing music my whole life. I never been to school. I always did homeschool or online school. So I've been like 100% into music since I was 8 years old. And I was lucky enough when I moved to Austin at the age of 13 to get hooked up with Ray Benson of Asleep at the Wheel, who kind of took me under his wing and introduced me to Willie Nelson, who then took me under his wing and I was able to tour with. And it was just amazing to meet all of these people that saw something special in me, being like a 13, 14-year-old girl from Mississippi that played the fiddle,
Hey.
and moved out to Austin. And there's so many young, passionate artists that I'm honored that they took an interest in me, took me under their wing, and kind of just gave me my first experiences like out on the road. I mean, I was taking my like high school classes and exams and in the back of Willie's tour bus, I had such a weird...
Not many people probably can say that.
Yeah, exactly. I had a very unique childhood, but I wouldn't trade it for anything, and it really did just, I know a lot of people that spend their whole childhood or their whole lives, on one thing, whether they're in sports or whatever, they usually get tired of it. And I never did. It did nothing but like instill more of a passion in me for knowing that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and getting the experience to be on stage in front of those huge crowds and feeling that energy and feeling what it's like to be on the road and to be a constant like working professional musician was just like so inspiring to me, and really kind of formed like, okay, well, this is what I want to do with my life. And so I'll always be grateful for those experiences, and I can say I've had a crazy life. So.
Well, you also are considered one of the youngest people to perform at the Grand Ole Opry, so that's a huge achievement right there. How did that come to be?
So I was 9 years old when I first played at the Grand Ole Opry, which was kind of, crazy. I had a fiddle teacher at the time, and, this was when I was living in Mississippi. And he, again, I've had so many amazing mentors in my life, but he took me under his wing and really taught me how to play country music and bluegrass music. And he, had toured with a lot of the greats of bluegrass music, like Bill Monroe. And he had toured with a lot of big country artists, and just like he played on the Grand Ole Opry, hundreds of times. And so he was like, I want to, show you the ropes. I want to teach you how to play this style of music. And he, saw how quickly I was learning and developing, and thought, maybe I'm going to reach out to one of my friends at the Grand Ole Opry, and I'm going to see if they're interested in this little 9-year-old girl coming and playing, and having everybody kind of check out her talent. And so he called his friend Mike Snyder, who's a banjo player that I don't know if he still plays at the Grand Ole Opry, but at the time he was like every week. That was his thing. So he called him and told him about me, and sure enough, they were kind enough to say, "Bring her on down." And man, it was just the craziest, most like probably one of the most nervous times of my life stepping onto a stage, because it's in country music, that is like the epitome. That is the stage.
That is the sanctuary of country music. I mean, that is the Sistine Chapel. I don't know if that's a good comparison, but I mean, it's the Mecca,
It's like, I remember thinking, like, at 9 years old, I was like, man, I'll know, like, that I made it. When I play the Grand Ole Opry, I was like, I made it. I'm famous now.
It's over now. Like, I got it. I did it. I'm done.
I'm done. 9 years old. I'm done. I did it. No, but it was so crazy. And I remember like being super, super nervous, and Mike Snyder like could see, how nervous I was, and we've been rehearsing backstage and stuff. And so he was like, do you want to just kind of like see what it feels like to just step on the stage before we perform? And I was like, okay. And I can't remember, who it was performing, some, one of their country artists, and he took me like to the back of the stage, kind of like where everyone could see what was going on. And he was just like, just stand back here for like a minute. And we stood like by like the bass player in the back, or the drummer or something like that. And I just like stood and looked, and he was like, just take a few deep breaths. He's like, you're here, you're standing on the stage. And I was like, okay. And then after that, I felt much better. And I like walked onto the stage and just had a great time. And actually went back a couple years later when I was 11 and played again. And it was just, one of those really memorable things that I'm so appreciative that I got to do. And, I think now they've had even like 6 and 7-year-olds on there. I don't know. But at the time, I was the youngest that had ever been, on the Grand Ole Opry. So that was an incredible honor.
Well, and then I know several years after that, you got to perform at the Continental House. How was that?
Yeah. So that was actually the first place that I played in Austin. So when I moved out to Austin, I moved here with my mom. We had just decided that it was time to leave Mississippi and figure out the next step, all with my music in mind. So we bought an RV and packed up and took off in the RV across the country, and landed in Austin just to like stop in and visit. We didn't know, we were actually thought like at the time, maybe we'll move to Nashville. We didn't know where we were going to go. So we pulled into Austin, and that night we just wandered over to the Continental Club, and Dale Watson was playing, who's like, famous Texas musician. And I like walked up to him. I brought my fiddle because I would bring it everywhere and I was like, hey, like I just moved here from Mississippi and I play the fiddle. And I told him a little bit about me so that he knew that I wasn't just, some like amateur, and so I was like, is there any way that I could like play with you? And he was so sweet. He goes, sure. So I jumped up on stage and jammed with Dale Watson at the Continental Club, which is such like an iconic Austin thing. And after that, I like stepped off the stage, and my mom and I were like, okay, I think we need to move here. So we actually, after we pulled in, we never left, and actually my mom still lives at the same RV park in Austin, Texas to this day that we
wow.
So yeah, she loves it. She never, she never left. So.
Oh, wow. Well, just talk about being at the right place, the right time. I mean, that's so cool. My grandfather also played the fiddle. He would sit in with Bob Wills back in the day when Bob would come back in Texas. So yeah, so that's cool that you play the fiddle. Champion.
I played the young Bob Wills in the Sleep at the Wheel musical, A Ride with Bob. Did you ever see that?
No, I did not. I need to, though. I need to put that to my, there's so many things I need to go back and see.
Yes. Well, I think that there's like DVD versions now. It doesn't tour anymore, unfortunately. Yeah. It stopped touring. I think the last show we did, I was 18. So long time ago. And yeah, that's actually when I first started working with Ray and Asleep at the Wheel. They put me in their musical, A Ride with Bob. So it was literally a musical about the life of Bob Wills, and we would travel all around like the South and play theaters, and I played the young Bob Wills, and I had a wig and a hat and little overalls, and I did it for like 3 or 4 years, and then finally when I got to like 15, 16, they're like
you aged out.
Gonna believe you're a little boy anymore. So then I did like other roles and stuff, and I still got to play fiddle, but yeah, we would do that on, like, it was a lot when I was like 13 and 14, but then on and off we did it maybe once or twice a year till I was like 18. So that was such an awesome experience. So I love Bob Wills.
It's kind of like that Bob Dylan movie where it was Heath Ledger, like multiple actors played different variations, various stages of Bob Dylan's life. I think it's called I'm Not There. I think that's the right title.
I saw that a long time ago. Like one time, I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah.
So I was a tiny version.
I mean, you got to have appreciation for Bob Wills if you're going to go back into country bluegrass roots. So.
Well, he, defined Western swing. So yeah, for sure.
Well, I had a band on Wood and Wire, who's also from Austin, bluegrass, and we talked about how bluegrass is timeless. I mean, it's like jazz, like it is keeps going through era and era, and you can find a way to like kind of morph it a little bit. Do you kind of see it that way?
Oh, for sure. I mean, bluegrass is so influenced by so many different things too. I mean, blues, obviously. Yeah. And country, and it's just kind of a melting pot of all of these different styles. And bluegrass is also, something that I'll always have a soft spot for, because it's something that I played for years and years of my life, going around to bluegrass festivals, and playing in bluegrass bands and things like that. And it's something that really shaped my style of playing as well. And I really feel like it really is underrated. I mean, not a lot of people know about bluegrass music and have like the kind of appreciation that it deserves, because it's such a beautiful style of music,
Yeah, and that's definitely a shame that a lot of people might not know of it, because if it wasn't for bluegrass, we wouldn't really even have a Johnny Cash. And if it wasn't for Johnny Cash, we probably wouldn't have rock. Definitely not punk rock, because I always think Johnny Cash is the original punk rocker.
Oh, absolutely. Johnny Cash, I grew up listening to Johnny Cash. He's one of my mom's favorites.
Oh,
so, yeah, I agree with that.
He's timeless too. His music is timeless as well. What current artist today, do you think could make that transition to bluegrass, or you would like to kind of see dabble in bluegrass?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I'm not up to date with a lot of the like newer bluegrass artists, but you mean like an artist that doesn't play bluegrass?
Yeah. Someone that you would say, oh, I would like to see them like try that. I mean, I would say Post Malone, actually. I think Post Malone can do it.
Yeah, that's a great one. Who else was I thinking of? I love Jack White, and he's
a little
bit. I feel like he would probably do some good bluegrass. I love Ryan Adams. I'd love to hear him do some bluegrass. Trying to think of Post Malone was a
James
great
Bay.
One.
James Bay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he could pull it off for sure. There's, I love hearing artists kind of go out of their box and do something different and something kind of that you wouldn't expect. So I would love to hear any of those artists dabble in something like that.
Well, even if you listen to bands like Bon Iver, Iron Wine, there's a little bluegrass mixed into that sound. I mean, it's very close to bluegrass.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, and that's the beautiful thing about music is it's never like, I always hate genre, defining music by genre, because especially these days, you really can't put a lot of the music that's coming out into a box, because it's a combination of so many different things and so many different influences and styles. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is we shouldn't have to put it in a box. There you can hear flavors of all kinds of different styles and all kinds of different influences. And like, that's what makes it interesting to me. And that's what makes it unique.
Well, if you look at Taylor Swift, I mean, she was able to kind of cross between country to kind of pop, and her newest album, I mean, it speaking of Bon Iver, I mean, it has kind of that, it can have a folky, and which Folklore is the title album. If you haven't seen the Disney Plus behind the scenes, it's called the Long Pond Studio Sessions. Highly recommend it. Just finished it the other night, but it shows the making of that album. Of course, it's all during quarantine, so it's from her home there. And she's working with Aaron Dessner of the National. So that
Oh,
is a
wow.
good. So that's a good one. It's a must see, I say. But talking about somebody who's kind of, you can't really put them in a box because they've done everything kind of with their genre or with their style, I should say.
Yes, absolutely. And I love Taylor Swift. I feel
Yeah.
like, a lot of artists, I feel like will kind of turn their nose up at because it's Taylor Swift, but I really respect her as a songwriter, and I really respect artists that, once they have that influence and that traction and that fan base, that they take risks and they
Mhm.
try new things. And sometimes it doesn't work and sometimes it does, and it's great, and you're like, oh my gosh, I would never have expected that from them. And it makes you respect them even more.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't know why some people like, don't like Taylor Swift. I mean, she takes chances, and
Yeah.
you got to really respect that. And I don't ever feel like she ever throws anything out there that's like, eh. She takes her time with her albums, and
Yeah.
I think they're great.
She's a great songwriter. She's a really underrated songwriter. A lot of people that maybe just see her as like a singer pop artist, and when you're like really in the music business, that she is a really great songwriter. But not a lot of people realize that, and she's actually written some amazing songs for other people that you wouldn't even realize that she wrote. And she's written like some songs even anonymously for other people. And, she's just a great songwriter and a great lyricist. So I have a lot of respect for what
Now,
she does.
going back to when you were recording Sick, did you have to do some from home? Did you go to a studio? How did you guys have to do kind of like, with the whole safety protocol?
Yeah, so we actually recorded it all in my producer's home studio. So it
Okay.
was just the two of us, and tried to be as safe and socially distanced as we could,
Yeah.
get it done. And we like wrote, and then he produced it, and there was really just two people working on it. And then we brought in another one of our friends to put some finishing touches on it from his home, and then we sent it off to mixing and mastering. So yeah, it was a very small, few people within the project that worked on it, but it turned out great. And I love the guys that I work with. It took a while to really find people that kind of understood my vision, and what I wanted to do, and helped kind of take what I wanted in my head and turn it into what I wanted to hear, so to speak. Because I'm not a producer, and I can talk about my ideas, and I can give lyrics and melody and stuff like that, but it takes a while to find like a real partnership with a producer where you're really like feel like you're working as one mind. And so that's what I feel like I found for this EP, and so that was really exciting for me.
Now, coming up with Sick, sometimes songs come out of nowhere when you're least expecting it. How did
Yeah.
Sick come to be as far as just the story behind it?
Yeah, so Sick was actually written just in the studio that day. We wrote it in about, I guess the lyrics and the melody were written in about an hour or so. And it was just one of those songs that just kind of just came about really, really naturally. And so the way that I usually write, especially with a producer, is, we'll be working on like a loop or a track. And in this case, he had like a synth kind of loop going on. And then I'll sometimes pull from personal experience, which I say that I don't first and foremost write from personal experience, but it always seeps into everything that I
Yeah.
write, just subconsciously. And then I realize after I've written the song, I'm like, wait, that was about this situation or that situation. But as I'm writing, I'm thinking very melodically, and it's just kind of the lyrics that kind of fall naturally into the rhythm and the melody, and then they can be tweaked and worked on. And so it was one of those songs that kind of came really fast. And every song is different. Some, we'll write and rewrite over the course of a month or two, and then some of them just kind of happen and click. And that was one of those songs. And it's funny that I would release a song called Sick during COVID. That's not what it's about. That was not intentional at all. It's definitely just like a messed up relationship song. But it was just one of those things that just kind of came really naturally. And it just felt like maybe it was something that I just really needed to get out, and it found its way out through that song. So.
Now, as far as the other songs are going, are you currently recording those? Or are you kind of taking time?
Yeah, so we actually have recorded all of the rest of the tracks on the EP. So now we're in the stage of we're about to get in the studio and finish up the vocals. So what we've done is some of the next track that we're about to release was written kind of 3 or 4 months ago, but the rest of them we wrote in like a little writing camp that we had at a studio here in Austin. It was myself and a couple producers and one other writer. And we just did like a 3-day thing where we hunkered down and just churned out as much music as possible. And so we picked 2 of those songs that we just really love, finished up we've got like the demo version essentially. So now we're putting the finishing touches on it, recording the vocals, getting all that done. And they're going to start coming out like in February, and it's going to be pretty much like February, April, and then June will be the last single. And then when that comes out, then the whole EP will come out, which will be 5 tracks in total. So
you're making people wait.
Yeah.
Teasing them. But hey, that's a good way to like finish up the rest of 2021, you know?
For sure. Well, and so many people record or release singles these days, you know, as opposed to full EPs at once or full albums at once. I mean, unless you're Taylor Swift and you can just drop an album.
Surprise.
And then everybody
that was a good surprise, though.
Yeah, exactly. But most artists, especially when you're an up-and-coming artist, you just can't do that. You want to really milk each song for what it's worth and really take your time in releasing it and having everybody pay attention to one track at a time. And that's just how so many people are doing it now. So that's just kind of how we chose to do it. It was like, you know, Sick happened early, and then as the rest of the EP started to come together, we were like, oh my gosh, okay, now it's the holiday season, so we're going to hold off till 2021 and then just kind of bam with the rest of the singles.
Now, are there any tracks that you're kind of like, not this time, that maybe you were working on, maybe you're writing, you're like, I don't know that this will fit with this EP?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of songs that we've written and a lot of songs that I really love that I'm looking forward to putting out at a later time. I mean, I think the important thing about this EP was really making sure that they all work well together. And that's kind of, you know, that's kind of a difficult thing to figure out because, again, like how we were talking about how music is influenced by so many different styles and so many different genres, you know, that we might write a song that's a little more rock, and then we might write a song that's a little really heavy pop, and then one that has a little R&B aspect to it, you know, that are all under like a pop umbrella, but have different kind of part components to them. And so it's really like making sure what really fits together in a nice package, and which ones we feel like are appropriate for this particular EP. But there's a ton of other music, and I'm actually going to be 2021 is going to have a lot of music for me. I'm going to be releasing like a 2-song EP in early fall, and then we're also, you know, going to be working on starting singles for the next EP after that as well. So it's exciting. I'm like ready to go. You know, 2020 has been so slow that, you know,
it's been a lot.
Yeah, it has.
It's been a lot.
It's been a buildup, and now I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go, you know.
2021 is the year, you know, positive vibes, new music
so.
from Ruby, not Ruby Jane, Ruby, just Ruby. How is Austin going right now as far as the music scene? Obviously, you know, there's not a lot of venues, just like here in Dallas, there's not a lot, but just what's the vibe feeling right now?
I mean, Austin is doing the best that it can. There's just not a lot of live music going on right now. There are a few venues that are doing, you know, socially distanced shows, and I've played at a spot here called Geraldine's, which is like a music venue restaurant at the top of the Hotel Van Zant on Rainey Street. And so I've played a few shows there. And again, they've been, you know, 25% capacity, tables spread out, kind of no standing, that kind of thing. And that's just been the vibe here for the few music venues that are open. And, you know, all of our big venues are just not operating right now, which is so sad because, you know, it's missed not only by people that want to go to shows, but by all the musicians, you know.
Like emos out there on Riverside. That was the last show in Austin I went to. I went to a metal show with a buddy of mine, but that's such a cool venue because the area around it does not seem like a concert venue area.
Oh yeah, I love emos, and it's in such an interesting area of town too that's kind of transforming right now. And yeah, venues like that. And my favorite venue to play is the garage at Empire Control Room. They've got like a big outdoor stage and just a wonderful sound system. And I've played so many just like packed shows there that just give you such good energy and good vibes. And I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, man, I cannot wait to step on a stage like that again and just feel the energy from the audience. And so it's missed by everybody, but Austin is hanging in there. We're slowly but surely having shows again.
By the way, how's that bread pudding at Geraldine's?
Oh my gosh, I have actually never had the bread pudding, but you're like the fifth person to mention it to me. So now I think
how you got to
get it.
Outsiders are like bread pudding at Geraldine's.
Have you had it before?
I have not. I have not been to Geraldine's, but I know about it and I know the bread pudding. It's like Franklin's. I've never been to Franklin's there in Austin, and yeah. So,
but next time I play there, I'm gonna get the bread pudding.
Yeah.
And I'll send you a picture of it, and I'll be like,
"Please do."
This is great. Geraldine's has such good food. I've eaten there like so many times. I mean, they have these little like no, they're not prime rib. Maybe they are prime rib. That just like falls apart. It tastes like butter. It's so good. And like they have, I mean, I could talk about their food.
Oh man,
but
I'm
their
hungry.
food is amazing. So next time I'll get the bread pudding for sure.
I sometimes live vicariously through food pictures, other people's food pictures. I mean,
oh my gosh, yeah. I'm a sucker for some good Instagram food pictures.
Well, I mentioned Franklin's. Of course, Hula Hut is a staple there. But if somebody's coming in town and you're like, hey, where's your spot that you like to go to, or some hidden gems that you feel somebody from outside of Austin needs to check out other than obviously the staples?
Like food-wise?
Yeah, food-wise.
Oh, okay. This is hard. I eat so much Mexican food. I mean,
love it.
If you come to Austin, you've got to eat Mexican food. Well, I love this place called Leeches, which is over on the east side. They have the best margaritas and the best ceviche. If you really like ceviche, I could eat an entire bowl of it that big myself. So Leeches is amazing. My other favorite, which I don't know if it's that under the radar, but Matt's El Rancho is a classic. They've got amazing food. And then, I don't eat a lot of barbecue. I do have a favorite sushi restaurant. If you ever,
sushi's good.
Nobody ever goes to it because no one knows where it is. It's like way up north, but it's called Haru, Haru, and it's like pretty cheap, and it is the best like quality, like medium price sushi that I've ever had. So if you're craving sushi in Austin, Texas,
all the time,
go there. You'll get a table immediately and get their salmon belly nigiri, and it's to die for.
I'm sad that, okay, so I've always called it death metal pizza. Apparently I'm wrong. Apparently that's part of the name, but it's Hook's Death Metal Pizza. It closed apparently in 2018. I used to go there during South by Southwest because you can get pizza by the slice, and they're kind of those gigantic pizza slices, but I'm sad to see that is gone.
Oh man, that name sounds super familiar, and I don't think I ever got the chance to check it out. My go-to for pizza here is always home slice.
Home slice?
Yeah, you cannot go wrong with some home slice pizza. And
I gotta write that down.
They have big slices too, and they're over on Congress, like right by downtown. So everybody in Austin loves home slice. It's the best.
Well, it's funny, from outsiders outside of Austin, we're always thinking 6th Street, but there's a lot of action on Congress. There is a lot of cool stuff to see on Congress.
Oh yeah, there's so many cool areas of Austin, and the east side is really developing right now as well. As far as like venues and restaurants and just great bars and breweries and things like that. Like that's kind of been the spot that I was going to the most before all of this stuff kind of happened. So I'm looking forward to seeing like kind of how the east side is surviving all of this. But there's so many great, Red River District is where Mohawk, emos and stuff, not emos, Mohawk and Stubbs, Cheer Up Charlie's, what's the other one I'm thinking of? Oh, Empire. There's all of my favorite music venues are like right in the Red River area too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to go to all that stuff again for sure.
You mentioned breweries. Are you a brewery fan at all? Do you like to venture out to that? I know
No,
it's like a huge brewery in Austin.
they've got a lot of great breweries. I'm not personally a beer drinker, so
Yeah.
when I go to the breweries, I'll get like a glass of wine or something.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people that are really pumped about the brewery scene, especially on the east side. So I had to mention it, even though it's not really my thing.
Well, I've been to Austin Beer Works. That was a great spot. And of course, you have 512. You have Independence. So, yeah, Austin is known for its beer. Dallas is becoming that as well. There's breweries on every corner. I mean, it's just such a huge market everywhere you go.
For sure. And I was born in Dallas, actually. I was born in in Arlington, technically.
Oh yeah, nobody ever remembers so I used to live in Arlington. It's funny when the Super Bowl was in Arlington, they're like, we're here in Dallas, and we're like, no, you're not. There's a big difference, but poor Arlington.
Oh yeah. So my mom lived in Dallas for 15 years.
Oh, awesome.
And I was born at Arlington Memorial.
Yep.
We were only there for like 2 days, and then she took me home to Mississippi, where the rest of my family lives. But I was born in Dallas, so I'm technically Texas born.
So if you ever come back to Arlington, up the street from Arlington Memorial Hospital is a great pizza spot called Old School Pizza and Suds. Probably spent too much time there in college. Great pizza, great food. Also, Jay Gilligan's is a huge famous place in Arlington. Great Irish nachos, which are these potato wedges with cheese and bacon. Yeah.
Oh, you're speaking my language.
It's good.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. No.
Wow.
Arlington's come a long way. Now they have like Texas Live where they do music. It's right next to where the Rangers are. So it's come a long way.
Nice. Well, I will definitely check it out. I don't go to Dallas often, although we have like family friends that still live there. So whenever I go visit, can I take a quick second?
Yeah.
My dog will not stop chewing his bone really, really loudly.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No worries.
I knew he was going to do something at some point to make noise. I thought it was going to be barking, but it was chewing a bone.
No, yeah. Mine is like doing something over here.
He's a noisy guy.
They don't, pets, especially dogs, they don't understand that other things are going on.
No, he doesn't know what I'm doing right now. He just wants to chew on his bone. He's like, hey, he's looking at me right now like, why'd you chew that away? What are you doing?
Well, Austin's just such a fun place. I miss going out there. I used to go out there a lot more. And of course, South by Southwest. I miss the free shows that you could go to at South by Southwest.
Oh yeah. I was just talking to a friend of mine about South by Southwest. Actually I was talking to Gabe a couple days ago. He was in town visiting from Listen to Your Heart. And we were talking about South by Southwest because he has never gotten the chance to play there. And I was just telling him about all of the cool stuff to do. I mean, whether you're playing or not, but that was always my favorite, was like play a show and then go find like a cool free event or free party or free show to go to. And then it was just like the city is buzzing with so much stuff to do. And I'm really hoping, I'm guessing 2022 will be the next South by, obviously not 2021. But
yeah, or same with Austin City Limits, unless they do something kind of modified.
Yeah, I know. And I miss Austin City ACL. Like I don't miss a year of at least attending ACL. And I've played it like 3 or 4 times, and it's just, I miss those staples,
Well, you're talking about early, like producer. So you worked with Frenchie Stewart, right? And Frenchie Smith. I'm sorry, Frenchie Smith. I love, I'm a fan of Wild Child. And I got to see Wild Child in college in New York City at the College Music Journal Awards. It was this marathon, all these bands, and 2 Austin bands were there, Wild Child and Quiet Company. I'm not sure if you know of
Yeah. I know both of them. Yeah.
I love Pillow Talk. That's a great song.
Oh, yeah. I love Wild Child. They're super sweet people, and I've played a bunch of shows and bills with them in the past. And Kelsey is like the sweetest girl ever, the fiddle player from Wild Child. And we've gotten to like jam a little bit together in the past. And, we're always kind of thrown together or we have been in the past on bills, like, whether it be like music, ACL or Utopia Fest or, bills like at Empire Control Room or Mohawk of just, great Austin music. And they're the sweetest people. So yeah, I love them.
By the way, Frenchie Stewart is Inspector Gadget too. So I was talking about him the other day with a buddy of mine, and sorry, Frenchie.
Yeah. People together.
I don't know if you want to be associated with the Inspector Gadget 2. It was an okay movie. First one's a little bit better with Matthew Broderick, but
that's funny.
Another, in my opinion, Austin royalty band, and they used to come to Dallas all the time on Halloween. Ghostland Observatory.
Oh yeah, I love them. I love them. I've never gotten the chance to play with them, but I've seen them many, many, many times. And they actually did a bill that I did during South by Southwest a couple years ago. I got the chance to sit in with Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh, that had to be so cool.
Yeah, it was a crazy experience. They were like, "Who's this chick with the fiddle?" But it was like a good friend of mine who works with their management company and stuff told them about me, and they were like, yeah, like they have a song called Reunion, which has violin on it. And so they brought me in to play for that. And it was an amazing experience. And Ghostland Observatory opened right on that same bill. And it was at the Moody Theater during South by Southwest for one of their events. And so that was a crazy experience. But yeah, I love Ghostland. There's a lot of great music.
I feel like they're very underrated. I'm just saying that because I like they're definitely one of those bands that you recommend. You're like, hey, if you need to check out a band, especially here in Texas, Ghostland.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much talent that comes out of Austin, and and a lot of bands kind of stay in Austin and stay based here, and then a lot of them that have transitioned to other cities that you don't even realize started in Austin. Gary Clark Jr.
Well, yeah, I was actually thinking the same thing. Now is in LA.
Yeah, now is in LA, and there's a lot of great artists like that as well.
Do you see more artists staying put in Austin, or do you think with any of the changes going on, just because of the time, maybe more may move out west just because of recording and everything?
I'm not sure. I feel like I'm a little bit out of touch with a lot of just the local Austin scene. Ever since I kind of transitioned into more like pop, there's not a lot. There are some pop artists in Austin, but there's not a lot that are kind of looking to do the same thing that I'm doing. And so I've kind of looked outside of Austin more and been a little bit more in touch with like the LA and Nashville kind of vibes and scene. So I'm not sure, as far as like the local talent here. I mean, I have a lot of friends that are recording elsewhere and traveling a lot more. And I think, post-COVID, I think the Austin scene is going to have had a big transition, and it'll be kind of interesting to see where the artists land, because a lot of Austin artists really rely on performing and on shows. That's like our big thing here. We're the live music capital of the world. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how the Austin artists kind of like transition out of that a little bit, because they have to, and how they kind of make it work for themselves, Is
there any particular genre before COVID that you saw really taking notice in Austin?
I think that a lot of Austin music is a lot of like rock.
Yeah.
And that still is consistent. But I feel like the rap and the hip hop scene has developed a lot here over the last like 4 or 5 years. And I have a lot of friends that have been really excited about that scene here, because I don't think if it did, exist here before, it was a little bit more under the radar. And so I know that there are a lot of like rappers, and there are a lot of people that are now more interested in doing like mainstream pop and stuff like that really didn't exist as much here before. A lot of people in Austin were more just focused in on the Austin scene, which is its own little bubble. And now a lot of people are kind of looking outward a little bit more with it.
Well, and you look at top 40 and a lot of the main radio play is top 40. You kind of look at rock, you really don't have all the time that alternative as much. I know of the alternative radio station here in Dallas that interned years ago it's gone, it's changed formats, but our just rock station is been around for a long time. So you kind of see that. But I also feel like, college radio is huge with having a mixture of all that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, radio is so different now,
Yeah.
and I have to confess, I don't listen to radio that much anymore. Like I have a couple stations that I have enjoyed listening to, but I mean, I listen to Spotify, as I feel like a lot of people do. That's where you get podcasts, and that's where you get
Yeah.
your music, and that's where, so much is just oriented around Spotify. It's completely changed the music industry, and it's kind of made radio a little bit more irrelevant, which is like something that would never have happened before, and that's kind of how artists are getting discovered these days, or through Spotify versus like through getting on the radio or something like that.
Who's currently on your playlist right now?
I listen to so much different stuff. That's a good question. Well, I'll look.
I'm the same. I'm all over the place. I have like John Legend going on. I have Explosions in the Sky. That's a great Austin band.
Oh yeah.
This Will Destroy You. Another great instrumental band.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. I listen to a lot of John Bellion. Like a lot. Yeah. And I love his latest album. I also, let's see, I listen to a lot of Grace, if you've heard of her, with 2 A's. She's kind of a newer pop artist, but a little bit in the darker pop area, which I really enjoy. I listen to a lot of Banks. I love Banks.
Yeah.
And were you asking about Austin artists or just artists in general?
Oh, no, just in general. That's on your list that you've been listening to this year.
Verite, do you listen to her? It's Verite, and
I will add to my list.
She's got a lot of amazing songs. And who else? Like, I'm trying to think of like stuff lately. Well, I've listened to the new Taylor Swift album a lot. I love her.
Oh, that album. I love. I mean, once again, I'm a Bon Iver fan, so Exile is a great one. But the whole album's great. Cardigan.
Yes, it is. It's great. I love her. Let's see.
Cautious Clay. Have you heard of Cautious Clay?
Yes.
Yes, Cautious is great.
It's been a long time since I've listened to Cautious Clay. I need to dive back into that. Let's see. I've been listening to, honestly, a lot of artists that are in the kind of style that I want to be in. So, Grace being one. I love Billie Eilish.
Oh yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of Charlotte Lawrence, who's really great, and Lauv, Lauv, who's like one of my favorite. You can see my dog in the background.
Yeah, nice photo.
he's like walking around. He's like sitting around for the.
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing right there. Lauv is like one of my favorite artists of all time. I think he's an amazing songwriter, and he's in kind of that indie pop world as well. So I'm always listening to whatever he's putting out. But I really listen to everything. I listen to a lot of throwbacks. A lot of like throwback rock, like Radiohead is my favorite band of all time. So I'm always listening to them. And yeah, I really just kind of whatever the mood strikes me,
Well, Smashing Pumpkins just released a new album. About a band, because you mentioned Radiohead. So when I'm thinking of that genre, both bands kind of a little bit around the same time. I mean, both those bands, timeless.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's just like you can listen to them because like as far as like Radiohead goes too, my favorite albums of theirs are the old ones, like Benz I have I don't know if you can see in the back there, but I have the album up on my bookshelf.
Yeah.
But the Benz is my favorite album of all time. OK Computer, even Pablo Honey, their first, like those are just albums that you'll be able to listen to 50 years from now, and they're still going to hold their own,
Well, what's if somebody's like, hey, share one artist that you highly recommend that maybe not a lot of people know about, who would you recommend?
Oh
man. Putting you on the spot.
I know one artist not a lot of people know about. Well, see, I don't know what qualifies like not a lot of people know about.
Well, okay, maybe I know that's a broad. Maybe somebody I don't know, maybe someone who doesn't get as publicity you think, or maybe someone rising in Austin right now that you think check this person, this artist, this band.
Yeah. I mean, I would honestly say the girl that I mentioned, Grace, with 2 A's, she's phenomenal, and she's not really that well known. She's kind of getting well known, but she's not really there yet with most people, you know. So I would definitely recommend her. And I mean, I'm such an enormous fan of great lyricists. And you know, John Bellion would be at the top of my recommendation. You know, a lot of people know him for the song All Time Low, which is just really the tip of the iceberg. Like, he has so much great music that people haven't listened to and don't really know about. And so I would tell them to dive into him. As far as like Austin artists go, there's so many of them that are great. Tamika Jones, I would say to check her out. She's just like the most soulful, amazing vocalist, and she's had a lot of new music coming out. And a lot of the crew that I work with also works with her. And she's just really a phenomenal person as well. So I would tell people to check her out. And she's actually done some stuff recently with Gary Clark Jr. as well. So she's wonderful.
Well, outside of music now, Austin, it looks like you have Joe Rogan has moved to Austin.
I didn't know that.
Joe Rogan, yep. He's been doing his podcast. He moved end of September, October. He's been in Austin. It looks like James Vanderbeek is moving to Austin too.
Oh my gosh.
Austin, everyone's coming on.
Austin's a great place to live.
Yeah.
It really is. That's, you know, I hope to be able to travel as much as possible while still basing in Austin as long as I can, because it's such a wonderful place to live and a great place to call home. So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised.
Well, finally, like I said earlier, you're coming in the Rustic and performing. By the way, I know you're a wine drinker. They have a great wine selection there.
Ooh, yes.
Also, try the fried pickles.
Oh, I will have to do that. I love the Rustic. So I actually have played there. I usually drink tequila there, but I need to try their wine.
Hey, that's faster. You know, man, that sounds like a Saturday night.
Yeah, exactly. This will be my first time playing the Rustic since COVID. I haven't played there since like January, February time period. So I'm so excited to get back to it. And they've got a great sound system and just great vibe there. And I'll be there with a trio. So I'll have myself, my producer, who's also my musical director, on keys and tracks and bass and stuff. And then I'll have a drummer with me as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. So are you coming?
Yeah, I will be there.
Good.
I
Okay.
haven't been to a show in a long time. Last time I was Rustic, it wasn't for a show. It was in December, but I had my 10-year reunion years ago at the Rustic. So it's such a cool vibe in the patio. And it does feel a lot safer during this time. So I'm thankful for venues like that can help a lot of artists out in the meantime, because
Me too.
during this I was like, man, because there's so many venues, I mean, in every city, and but especially for the local artists. And I have a lot of friends who are musicians here in DFW, and I'm like, man, you know, so I guess everybody's kind of doing the virtual thing right now. So
yeah, you just gotta like make it work for you and just kind of power through. You know, that's what I feel like we're all doing. So weird time.
Well, and I have to plug, I'm doing a holiday home jam coming up here. That's going to be virtual showcasing artists. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
How do you, if I wanted to check it out, how do you do that?
Yeah. So it'll be on Facebook and YouTube live stream.
Right.
Yeah,
I'll watch, for sure.
It's actually all like just pre-recorded video production of artists. They just play 3 songs. I did one back in May for Memorial Day, because usually, you know, those weekends are so popular for artists to play, and you know, this year is a little bit different, but
yes, it is. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'll tune in and check it out then. That sounds cool.
So yeah, well, we look forward to having you here in Dallas. And finally, where can people find you?
Yes, you can find me all over. If you Google Ruby Jane, that's the easiest way to find me, because you'll go to my website for all of my new stuff. But on Spotify, just search Ruby and search Sick. That's my new single, and it'll pop right up. And I'm on Instagram, rubymusic.official. I'm on Twitter, Ruby Music, and I'm on Facebook. I think I'm still under Ruby Jane. I need to switch that over.
You it's down to the one.
Yeah,
I don't know if you could hear my chihuahuas now.
That actually makes me feel better, because I feel like my dog is chilling now, but that makes me feel better.
He's not a fan of like slamming doors or like, you know, and during this time everybody's at home, and Amazon, DoorDash.
Yes. Oh, if my dog hears anything outside, he has
Chewy.
the loudest bark ever. So it would scare you if my dog started barking. Oh, Chewy, so
He's
cute.
like, I can sing. He's like, I can sing. He's
Yeah.
more of a dancer if you have some snack or food. So
He's like, me, my turn, my turn.
yeah. No, he
Oh, he's
likes
so
the he I don't know, he's a little camera shy.
I love. Well, my dog won't. Nah. If I tried to bring him up here, he would.
He made his debut. He made his cameo in the back.
Like, I'll
He
just wander
photobombed.
around the chairs in the background, and they'll see me. They'll know who I am. Yeah.
Well, all right, Ruby. Thank you very much for taking your time, and best of luck with the EP. We'll look forward to the singles. And here in Dallas, everyone, please come out December 12th, The Rustic.
Yes, the Rustic. Yay! Thank you for having me. This was fun.